round number 12 of the Formula 1 season brings us to Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix. And the breaking news is that Mercedes and Aston Martin are going to partner up together in Formula 1. We officially do know that Mercedes-Benz have got a 20% stake in Aston Martin. And that means that Mercedes-Benz and Aston Martin will now use that partnership that they've got with each other already and put it in towards Formula 1. With this being said, that does mean that Sebastian Vettel is going to join Mercedes next season, and Nico Rosberg has announced his retirement from F1. Nico Rosberg has said that he's had a nice time coming back into Formula 1, but just doesn't feel like he wants to continue anymore in Formula 1, while Vettel says that he's very much excited to be going head-to-head with Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes. Of course, with Sebastian Vettel also having a stake within the Aston Martin brand itself as well, it does mean that he can move between Aston Martin and Mercedes, and that is the purpose of this entire program. Teams from Mercedes and Aston Martin or drivers, should I say, from Aston Martin and Mercedes can alternate and swap whether they drive for Mercedes or whether they drive for Aston Martin. If Aston Martin want to put a driver into Mercedes, Mercedes have the option to say yes or no. Whereas the other way around, Mercedes could say to Aston Martin, hey, we want to put one of our junior drivers into your team, and it would be acceptable, considering Mercedes have actually got a stake in Aston Martin. Now, of course, we can confirm that obviously both drivers could drive for each other's teams. So if Lewis Hamilton, for example, wanted to go to Aston Martin, he could do the same thing. And Vettel obviously is doing what he's doing now, and he's going to Aston Martin. Now, Aston Martin, of course, are going to be working hard with Mercedes-Benz to finalise the driver lineup for Aston next year with Vettel on his way out. Very exciting times coming up for both parties. Taking a look at the race news then heading into the Monaco Grand Prix, Jaguar were top of the timesheets in practice with Ferrari close behind. Sam seems to be the man with the pace heading into this weekend, with him topping FP1 and FP3, while Sainz managed to get and top FP2, which was very, very crucial. Mercedes and Audi seem to be struggling a lot for performance, especially Mercedes-Benz more than Audi. This is a bit of a shock actually, as Mercedes-Benz have been struggling all season long with a power unit deficit to the rest of the field, but it seems that this is proving that their issues are more than what we thought. Now, Charles Leclerc is unhappy with the balance of his car heading into this weekend. Of course, Leclerc's home Grand Prix here at Monaco, and it's not a great sight to see him unhappy with his car, but someone that is happy with his car is Valtteri Bottas. He says that he's absolutely loving his Renault on the streets of Monte Carlo and feels like everything is just clicking to perfection, whereas Verstappen is being left confused as he seems to be one of very few drivers struggling with tyre temperature issues around Monte Carlo, which is very, very unusual to see. But let's see if that costs him any form of time and whether anyone can get themselves set up. It's time for the Monaco Grand Prix. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. This is round 12 of the season here for the Monaco Grand Prix under the lights here at Monte Carlo. And as you can see then, qualifying was actually one of the scruffiest qualifyings I've ever had in Formula 1. Here I was on an outlap and was just so clumsy, just not really concentrating, and yeah, just put it in the wall and broke the front wing. Next lap, and this is on a flying lap, we actually punctured the right rear and the front left, and also damaged my front wing and go for a little bit of a spin in the process as I was trying to limp it back to the pits on this broken set of tyres. This is then my next flying lap now. Look at the clock though, we've still only got 4.5 minutes or so to go in this session, and I clipped the inside barrier. That's another front wing gone into this collection. I'm really glad that Jaguar bought me some more front wings because I've really needed them. So as we go then now into the final lap here, we've only got this attempt now to try and get a lap in and see where we can end up. So as we come towards the start finish line now here, what's this lap time going to put us? Only 11th place. So here we go then, it is time for the Monaco Grand Prix under the lights here at Monte Carlo. Round number 12 of Season 6 of the F1 journey. A track which is notoriously difficult to overtake on, but it has the glitz and glamour and the boats that means it stays on the Formula 1 calendar. It's a dry race though, we aren't expecting any form of weather to take any form of effect in this Monaco Grand Prix, so it should be a nice easy run to the finish unless you smash into the barriers. Very short circuit though, only a 2-mile circuit with only one DRS zone which on the pitch straight. The DRS zone though really doesn't make that much of a difference heading into the first corner. It's going to be about where else on the track you can be very, very ambitious and make your overtakes happen, with the soft, medium and the hard compound tyres being the tyres to be using for today. With us starting in P11, we can use whatever tyre compound that we want, which should help us as it's going to be very critical for those at the top 10 to get through a very good first stint. Let's have a look at the starting grid then and see how everyone lines up. Sam is on pole position for the Monaco Monaco Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton lined up the front row alongside him then. We've then got Reese in P3 for Ferrari, ahead of George Russell in P4 for Audi. So a good qualifying session for Russell in the Audi site. The man who's been on form recently, only P5, ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in 6th, ahead of Nico Rosberg. Valtteri Bottas with a sensational qualifying session in P8 for Renault, with Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, the next two drivers, to line up with each other. Then I am in P11, a very bad qualifying session for us, probably the lowest that we've had in quite some time. Verline is alongside me in P12. Charles Leclerc, P13, not a good qualifying session for him in the McLaren. Ocon in P14, with Mason Wood down in 15th place with Gasly, doing a brilliant qualifying session for Ford in P16. Norris in 17th, ahead of Hulkenberg in 18th place. And then the bottom two drivers is Noah James, and unfortunately it is Sebastian Vettel that lines up right at the back of the grid. But obviously, with the opportunity to do one less stop than the others in the top 10, it is still all to play for. And speaking of doing that one less stop, we're having a look at it right here, right now. So I was adjusting the strategy, see if I could do medium to soft, or whether we can do medium to hard. But we're going to start on the medium compound tyres. So here we go, 5 red lights then. And it is now lights out. Here we go here to start the Monaco Grand Prix. It's been a very good getaway. Straight off the line then, ahead of Verstappen. And also of Sergio Perez as well. Diving up the inside though of even more cars into the first corner. I think that was a Renault and Rosberg that we managed to overtake there. So all in all, we've actually had a very, very nice start there. So as we now go up the hill now, in towards Massenet and Casino Square. Closing up ever so slightly now on the front pack here, as I think Hamilton and also Reese are having a little bit of a scrap, as we get a bit skirmish on the exit there of Casino Square, which nearly put us off. Had a little look to see if I can try and go down the inside into the Lowe's hairpin, but unfortunately we're going to have to go at a walking pace here to try and find our way through the McLaren. Unfortunately, as you can see, we eventually just lose out a little bit there in terms of overall performance as we now go through in towards the tunnel for the very first time in this Grand Prix. Now down towards the chicane here, and looks like Hamilton's just going to get ahead of the attacking Ferrari there. They're still side by side actually, and look at the gap that Sam's got out front. Look on the mini-map there. Sam's got a huge advantage now in the opening phases of this Grand Prix, so everyone is costing each other the time there as we now go flying through their back end steps out again a little bit. Now as you can see, going towards Raskas here, we're going to go very wide here around the outside of Ricciardo, but we've managed to make it stick. Anthony Node's corner coming up, getting the elbows out and managing to sneak our way past McLaren and up now into 6th place in the Monaco Grand Prix. Very nice start for us, 5 places gained on the opening lap. And now what we've got to do, just follow the drivers behind really, as Ricciardo now tries to have a look up again going up the hill, but we can just plant the car right into the middle of the circuit and make it very hard for him to even think about overtaking us. And now we can try and press onwards as we start the race here. Let's have a look at that race start actually, because that's a very interesting fight between Reese there and also Lewis Hamilton. So as the lights go out here, Sam gets away quite nicely actually. Hamilton then doesn't really get the best of his starts, and that's what allows Reese here to go for an attack. But before all that here, there's our start, just diving down the inside instantly into turn 1. See what places we can gain, and then going up the hill here, you can see now we're comfortably through, and eventually we can then press onwards with our own race and pretty much just have some fun with it. So this is on board with Reese now on his start. So Sam gets a brilliant start, no question about that. But if we take a look here, Reese actually doesn't get a bad start versus Lewis Hamilton. Now as they make the run up the hill here, this is where the Ferrari power is just better than the Mercedes. As he goes up towards Massenet now, it's quite clear that Reese is in front, but Hamilton is still there, and there you can see him now fighting back against Reese, quite aggressively actually, as they make the plunge now down in towards Mirabeau here. Reese has got that inside line, but Hamilton crucially is still holding on in there and not allowing Reese any opportunity to get in front of him. You can see Hamilton just sort of bumping and barging and trying to find a way past Reese now as he go down into towards Portier here. And you can see now, again, on acceleration here, Hamilton gets a better exit because he's on the outside. But eventually, that power advantage that the Ferrari's got is going to start to come into fruition now, as Hamilton didn't really cover off then the Nouvelle chicane there. Allowed Reese to just come back at him. And then Hamilton eventually gets a better exit, stays in front of Reese, and he can just try and breeze away. This is what it's like on board from Hamilton's perspective. So you can see here how he just didn't get a good start at all. And he just opened the door for Reese to go on the attack now as he goes down the inside here. This is what it looked like from Hamilton's perspective, because for a lot of it, Lewis was actually behind. And you can see again, look what I was saying, Reese now certainly dropping back a little bit from Lewis Hamilton. Eventually, as they go on through, you can just see here that Hamilton is just trying to see if he can find a way past Reese. And eventually, you can just see how well managed he is and very well composed in terms of wheel to combat. Probably actually clipped the wall a little bit there on the inside line now. As again, you can just hear the contact, especially from Hamilton's perspective there. As the green flag goes away, obviously you always get a yellow flag for the Lowe's hairpin on the opening lap. And eventually you can see here, getting that outside line, he's put the car into overtake mode here, Probably the crucial thing, I can't remember if Reese put his car into overtake or not. Hamilton, though, is using it very tactically now. Reese gets a very late braking manoeuvre here to try and come back at Lewis, but eventually Lewis just gets a better exit here and doesn't even use overtake there on the exit, but he's actually through, so it's all right for him. Lap 3 of the Grand Prix now, and we're just doing our own thing here. We're actually maintaining a good pace with the guys in front. Of course, they are on the soft compound tyres, us on the medium compound tyres. We are on a slightly slower tyre for the time being, but eventually it's going to come back into us, or the race is going to come to us, sorry. Back end slides a little bit there on the exit of the last corner. We do set the fastest final sector of anybody so far. We've got some very nice pace actually on these medium tyres, which I was noticing. And you can see here that I'm now all over the back of Sainz, and I'm trying to find a way through here. Sam, though, is still, I wouldn't say he's increasing his lead out front. He's very much managing it to a very nice degree here as we now go down in towards the chicane. The problem there, as you can see, is that I just wasn't able to get close enough to the back of Sainz. I'm trying to trouble him into the chicane, but on the exit then, that's when Sainz pulled back away again. So, definitely got some work to do here as Sainz now gets a little bit squirmish on the exit of the Lowe's hairpin, but it's absolutely fine. It's not really going to compromise him at all now as we get onto the back end. And again here, you can just see, I want to try and chase after him, but you just see how much quicker the Ferrari is in a straight line. And it was so much more apparent for some reason around Monaco, more than anything here. We get a brilliant run though through the chicane, really pressurising Sainz now, going towards Tabak, but again, nowhere to overtake. We just got to be patient now and bide our time here. Lap 9 of the Grand Prix though. Now we're going to see if we can try and make a move on Sainz. We're not close enough to try and have a little run here. Going to try and set myself up into Rascas now. Might have a look into Anthony Nose, which is a bit too far back there. I really wanted, you don't understand how much I want to just dive it up the inside there on Sainz, but I need to be careful in this Grand Prix. Of course, I can't afford to just throw it at the inside and then break my front wing. That would be the worst thing to do because, of course, I won't be able to pit. I'd have to do a full lap with a damaged front wing. So, it's all about being patient here on Monte Carlo. And that's what we're doing right now as we breeze through the swimming pool section. You can see here now that we're going to try and set ourselves up for another attack here on Carlos Sainz. Go round the outside into Rascas. Allow us to switch back inside here on Sainz. Now we've got the inside into the last corner. Compromise Sainz very heavily there, but it's fine because it doesn't compromise me as we now go through and across the start finish line here. And now up into 5th place, I believe that is, in the Monaco Grand Prix. It is P5. Now we can set after George Russell here on lap 11. But speaking of setting after George Russell, there's actually no need because he's coming in to get off of his soft compound tyres. We're staying on the mediums though because we're going into a one stop in this Grand Prix, whereas they have to stop and get rid of those soft compound tyres, which was a nice reference actually. Now I knew that the soft tyres did 11 laps, but for me, I wasn't actually focused on that. What I was focused on is doing the best stint possible. And there was nothing else really to show actually, all the way up till my pit stop. We're coming in now for our one and only stop here on lap 20. Now Sam is just going through to back right now, so let's see if we can get out in front of him. Of course, like I said, nothing happens. I even tried to get replay cameras of what other people were doing. Nothing was happening. So we're coming out of the pits now then. Let's have a little look here. Sam is coming through the last corner right now. Now he's on the pit straight here. And as we come out back on track here, that overcut that we've done has worked beautifully. We're back out into the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. The overcut works beautifully. Hard compound tyres to the end of the race. And Sam now is stuck behind us. And that is absolutely magnificent now. And all we've got to do is just keep him behind for the end of the race, basically, as we now go through. And onto lap 28 here now. You can see here, even though I was on fresh hard compound tyres, I couldn't actually pull away from Sam behind. He had incredible pace, and in fairness, these hard compound tyres felt absolutely dreadful. Like, I really didn't like them at all. I was struggling for grip all over the circuit. So I was just trying to hope now that I could just at least stay in front of them, because otherwise, apart from that, I was really struggling for performance now as we go through towards the last corner here and towards Rascas now. And you can see Sam getting very close there on the proximity hours, but all I've got to do is just keep my composure. I've got track position. That's the biggest thing around Monaco. It's key. And especially on this DRS zone here, the exit at the last corner, I was absolutely fine. And as we go on to the final lap now of this Grand Prix, I decided to use up one of my corner cutting warnings there. But unfortunately for you guys, nothing happened in this Grand Prix. But the only thing that did happen is that our overcut paid off. We make it count, and we're going to come across the line to win the Monaco Grand Prix, and we even set the fastest lap on the final lap there to claim P1 and get back on top in Formula 1 after a little bit of a drought in terms of race victories. But as you can see on your screens then, it is a 1-2 finish for Jaguar. And like I said, I apologise that the race was really, really short. Like I just said, nothing happened. Like, I couldn't overtake the guys in front of me, so I had to sort of leave them alone. They all then pitted and got stuck behind traffic. They couldn't pass the traffic. I then just got the overcut, and I just stayed in front of Sam, and Sam never really challenged me throughout the rest of the race, but we win the Grand Prix by 2.6 seconds over Sam. Reese finishes in P3 for Ferrari, for Ferrari, I already said that, 4.5 seconds behind. George Russell finishes in 4th place for Audi, ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 5th for Mercedes. Charles Leclerc with a great race for him actually. He started outside the top 10 just like me, and is, I think he started 13th place and got P6, so credit to him. He beats his teammate Ricciardo to P7. Good all the points for McLaren actually, with Rosberg in P8. Sainz finishes down in P9, a bad race for Carlos Sainz here today. And then Valtteri Bottas did actually manage to come home in P10 for Renault, so credit to him, really putting out the stops for Renault. We actually set the fastest lap, which was on the final lap of the race for 107.479. Now to look at the rest of the race here, Verstappen finished in P11 ahead of Sergio Perez in P12. Verline was 13th, then it was Ocon, Mason Wood and Pierre Gasly, Lando Norris in P17, Nico Hulkenberg 18th, Noah James in 19th, and Vettel finishing where he started, unfortunately, down in P20. A bit of a shame, that one, actually. Now we're going to have a look at the Drivers' Championship, and as you can see here, the gap at the top of the Drivers' Championship has now come down between myself and Sam. Sam on 186 points, I'm on 178 points. The championship, very, very close between myself and Sam. Reese is on 157 points and keeps himself in play, actually, despite finishing in 3rd here today. Still keeps himself in play with me and Sam, so we can't really be complacent. You know, me and Sam are pushing each other so hard this season, and it's really helping us because Ferrari are definitely a threat. Sainz on 122 points there. With George Russell on 119 points. Ricciardo is on 102 points. We've got Hamilton on 74 points. Nico Rosberg and Charles Leclerc tied on points actually with 70 points each. And Sergio Perez stays on 58 points. The next race is the Austrian Grand Prix. In terms of the Constructors' Championship then, Jaguar, we have increased our lead over Ferrari now. We're on 364 points with the 1-2 finish here today. Ferrari are on 280 points. Of course, this 1-2 finish is crucial for us in terms of our fight against Ferrari. The momentum had swung in Ferrari's favour, and we've just swung it right back into ours. Audi are on 177 points and are still in front of McLaren, unless they actually jumped in front of them, I can't remember, but they're in front of them, and the gap is only 5 points between them. Mercedes dropping back a little bit from that scrap between Audi and McLaren. Red Bull are on 48 points, Renault are up to 27 points and can still catch Red Bull. Porsche on 13 points, Ford and Aston Martin still not scoring any points. But with that being said and done, let's go and have a look at the post-race notebook, see what the teams and drivers had to say after the Monaco Grand Prix. Taking a look at the post-race notebook then, we can see first of all Tom managed to beat Pole to Sam to victory after starting in P11, and Jaguar managed to strike back against the on-form Ferrari with a 1-2 finish. Charles Leclerc was very happy with his home race recovery. Leclerc starting down in P13, managing to finish in P6. He admits that he had a great race and was just thankful that the team gave him a great strategy to fight back. Lewis Hamilton admits that Mercedes need to spend a lot of time fixing their race pace issues. Mercedes have not really been in the fight this year, although they did have good pace in the early phases of the season. But Mercedes have always been very strong in qualifying, especially with Lewis Hamilton. But in the race, the team just don't seem to understand why their car can't compete with the likes of the top 4 teams. And it's something that's really puzzling them, and it could well be that they'll have to wait till next season to find some improvements. And Sam was left frustrated after missing out with the victory after Tom managed to claim it. Sam did start on pole position and led very comfortably in the opening phases, but as soon as he pitted, he knew that as soon as he got stuck into that traffic, then Tom was going to capitalise if he'd started on the medium compound tyres, which he did, leaving Tom to claim the victory. He also admits it's going to be very difficult now for the rest of the season to keep Tom behind, with Tom very much specialised at being quicker around the high-speed circuit, with the likes of Belgium, Spa and Brazil all still yet to come. But Tom is playing that down, stating that there is still plenty more races to go and nothing is for certain done and dusted. But there we go, guys, that is it for the Monaco Grand Prix. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and next week we'll be back for the Austrian Grand Prix. But for now, we're out. Take care all.